Hey, what's up, November 22 people? We're going to look at a really cool prompt. I'm going to help you get an A on Title 6, November 22. Let's get an A in TOK.
Get an A in TOK.
All right, so first of all, I'm here to help you out in so many different ways. If you haven't yet, you can download a whole bunch of resources in the link below on the description. If you really need some help, you can hire me actually as a tutor. I will record custom videos for you. I'll grade your papers. We can even Zoom, so if you need some extra help after this video, just get in touch with me. I'll help you out there, but I'm gonna give you some stuff for free, so let's check this out. Okay, let's look at my first idea here. Okay, so the first thing that we have to remember is that everything is about whether or not artistic freedom is an asset or an obstacle. And so what you really wanna do here is you can do this a couple of different ways. I'm gonna show you 2 ways of organizing this later on in the video. But what you can do is you just need to make sure every paragraph ends with either a conclusion that says asset or obstacle. Or if you find some way of saying it's both or it's neither, that's cool too. But everything is about art, artistic freedom, an asset or obstacle. Make sure you focus on that. Okay, the second thing you'll see here, can you find things that are pieces of evidence for history and the arts? So this is a weird prompt, and they just started doing this last year where they require 2 different areas of knowledge. They used to just let you pick all the time. Here they are saying, we want history and we want art. But instead of thinking about things that are art and things that are history, what if you find a certain event that historians studied and artists use their artistic freedom to describe or interpret or to comment on, okay? That will help us come up with a really cool way of organizing this, and I'll talk about that at the end. But then when you're talking about this event, which one was an asset? Which one was an obstacle? Which method or tool, which way of knowing associated with that area of knowledge was an asset or an obstacle? How did that interact? Then you can compare them, and the comparison comes natural. So you'll see my other videos. If you don't have any comparison, you're probably not gonna get an A. You might, but if you do have comparison, some evaluation there between your points, you're gonna score a lot higher. Okay, the next important thing is super important, and I help people figure this out all the time when I tutor them on Fiverr, is that we're not talking about the past. When we talk about the AOK of history, we're not talking about things that happened in history. We're talking about an entire body of knowledge. We're talking about the methods and tools used for searching for what we now know or think we know about the past. So think about how we gain knowledge, how historians gain knowledge. You might talk about archaeology, you might talk about interviews, you might talk about primary sources, old documents, people who were writing a long time ago who are writing about things that for them were past. How do historians gain knowledge? And then how does that, focus on those methods and tools, compete and interact with the freedom that artists have? So we're not writing about the past, we're writing about the area of knowledge of history. Those are 2 totally different things. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways of organizing this. The first way is kind of an AO-focused way, and this is what most people do, and I'm publishing a video really soon about 2 different ways of organizing your TOK essay. Check it out, I'll link it in the description if I publish that one first, but this is a traditional way, and this can be used for virtually every essay, and it's this. You're gonna have your first section, and you're gonna talk about art, okay? So section 1, AOK arts. You're gonna say how artistic freedom is an asset, then how artistic freedom isn't an asset. Super easy, super simple. I think you can see why most people will do this. And then in section 2, which could be about history, where it is being assumed by the title that historians don't have freedom, you might talk about how historians not having freedom is an asset to the understanding of the past. And then you would talk about how historians having freedom isn't an asset to understanding of the past. And so they might be too rigid. We might not have any idea, and maybe that's why we don't know. That's why history doesn't matter. That's what some people think. So this would be an AOK-focused organizational structure. This is really simple. It's easy to do. You could flip it. You could have the 3rd section there, which is comparison, but this is really easy to do. And if you're really struggling with TOK, this is probably the one that you want to do. Here is the other way of organizing it, and I love this. This can't be done for every essay, but I think this really works for this prompt, and that's why I like this prompt so much. So what you could do is focus, instead of different AOKs, you can focus on 2 different historic events. And after talking about what happened in that event, very briefly, talk about how the historians approached it or what their perspective was, then talk about how the artistic representation affected our understanding of the past, and then you're going to talk about each. Was it an abscess? Was it an asset? Or was it an obstacle? So this is really cool because most examiners are not going to see this. And so what you can do is focus on 2 events. The only requirement, obviously, and I'll give you some ideas at the bottom, the only requirement is that these historical events that you chose were studied by historians, but were also used as an influence for some piece of art or a sculpture, painting, movie, song, podcast, whatever. I'm going to give you some of those next, but that would be the only way that this wouldn't work, is if your historical event never inspired any art. Okay, let's take a look at some really cool examples that I came up with. So if you're playing the Get an A in TOK drinking game, you can probably take a shot every time I talk about Footsoldier of Birmingham. This is the perfect thing to talk about because it's a historic event. Malcolm Gladwell, in the podcast Revisionist History, which is called Footsoldier of Birmingham, he does uses historic interviews to talk to the people from the historical event. But then we also have art that was inspired by this event. So this would be good for like half of your essay. I would totally choose this. Something else that would work, and I'm not sure how you would pull this off, but I'm not going to write your essay for you, is if you talked about the Diary of Anne Frank, which is nonfiction, with the novel Night by Elie Wiesel, which is a memoir, but is very literary, and it's not always to be taken literally. So I really like that. And so what you can think about is how these 2 different works, one that is studied historically and one that is studied more literary, how these help us gain an understanding of the past of World War II, of concentration camps, of the Nazis, of whatever. But these would be really good ideas for evidence as well. Another great example, I had this friend who went to the movie 300 back in the day because he thought it was like a historic movie about the Battle of Thermopylae. And I guess it was, but it's more like about like nudity and sex and decapitations at the Battle of Thermopylae. But you have this historic event that has been studied by historians for like thousands of years. And then you have Frank Miller's graphic novel, and then Snyder's movie that takes that and basically turns it into a cartoon. So which helps us understand it more? Which is more valuable? Which approach is an asset and an obstacle? This would be a great example. And again, this could probably be half your paper. Another example of art exploring things of the past is the U2 song Sunday Bloody Sunday. It's about an event in Ireland. Historians, they're still studying that because it wasn't that long ago. But U2's song, what became the biggest song in the world by talking about that day. So think about how U2 influenced people, and also how it helps you understand an event that you might not have been alive for. Okay, and then just a couple more things, a couple videos that work really well, movies. You got Lincoln, Pearl Harbor, Moneyball, Harriet, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Argo. These were just the ones off the top of my head that are Hollywood movies made for entertainment, not necessarily an understanding of the past, but they're talking about things that happened in the past that have been studied to various different degrees. And so if you're wanting to kind of take that approach, my organizational structure number 2, focusing on one of these events, and then the historic approach and the artistic approach would really help you out. All right, so there you go. You got a lot of evidence to go for. If you need some extra help, you've got the downloads down below. I can tutor you on Fiverr and help you out. I won't write your essay for you. Honestly, someone the other day completely plagiarized from me and wanted me to help them with it. They just stole one of my objects from the exhibition. I'm not gonna help you do that. I'll help you do things honestly, but I'll also help you do them well. I hope TOK sucks a little bit less than it did a few minutes ago. Let's do this. Let's go. Give me a call. Don't call me. Give me a message on Fiverr. I'll see you there. Bye.